Welcome back to the We Are T1D podcast. This week we have a very, very special guest with us, and I'm sure you all know him from social media and a few reality TV programs over the years.
Oh, God.
We have Ryan Taylor.
Good to be on, boys. Good to be on.
Thank you.
Good to have you, mate.
Yeah, it's good to have you. So how are we doing? You all right?
Yeah. Like I just said, I had a blip on the way home, getting stuck in temporary traffic lights when I've already pre-bolus. But you live and learn. That's the problem with CGMs. I honestly think they're like the best bit of kit ever. But like, I'm so miraculous with I jot down certain foods that I eat. And if my pre-bolus wasn't early enough, I have different pre-bolus times for about 10 different meals I eat. And I try to be so on top of it, and then you just realise, guess what, mate? You've got a life as well. Stuff's going to get in the way. And one of these days, you're going to die for the sake of pre-bolusing.
What's pre-bolusing?
Yeah, Michael don't pre-bolus at all. I've witnessed it.
That was the first thing that and it was one of the first things I started speaking about on TikTok when I made it, and. Because before CGMs, they never promoted it at all, like doctors. It was so vaguely mentioned. And I was always one of them people I always had good blood sugars, even when I was living abroad and my life was a mess and I was doing all sorts of stuff. Mate, my blood sugars were always good. And they're giving me my HbA1c, and I was like, oh, okay, it's because I'm diabetic. You can't have a normal person's HbA1c, surely. And it was only when I got a CGM, and I think back then I was using Nova Rapid as well. You realise that, so in them 2 hours between the tests, I'm pretty much high until literally right before I test again. So you're looking at 8 hours for the day that you're high between meals. It was only then that I actually started the pre-bolus thing. That was one of the big first things I was talking about on there, and the amount of blowback I got. But 2 years in, I'm very used to blowback about videos I make. So.
I'll bet you are.
Your content is good, though. Even my wife goes to me, she goes, oh, have you seen this video? And I'm like, no, because I don't do TikTok.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, it's not really a boys diabetic app, but there's not many lads doing it. It's so rare. That's why I always like the route of doing the podcast, which I think is really cool that you guys have done it. I think there needs to be more males speaking about diabetes. There's a new girl popping up every day on the timeline with T1D in the name, and I'll give them a charity follow, but I already know what they're going to do. They're going to do the same memes that the other girls have all done.
Yeah, and sense of change.
Yeah, they'll do what I did rather than start. You inject in public once, you realise it's going to go half viral, and you do it until it doesn't go viral at all anymore. You just keep doing it.
Yeah,
but I mean, as in there's a lot of girls doing it, and I think it's good when you get perspective from lads, because I don't know, it's maybe a harder condition for girls. For a lad, it's not really I don't know. I can imagine as a teenager girl, they're probably absolutely bricking it, having to inject in front of a boy, the first boy they meet and stuff. Obviously, they have more hormone changes than us. But as a lad, I feel like you do need other lads' perspective on it, because we have just our way of lives, and you don't speak to, you basically have a smaller circle. And none of my mates knew anything about diabetes. So I wish there was more people talking about it online when I was diagnosed.
Yeah, not 100%.
That was our drive to start this thing, because it was when I first got diagnosed, it was just, there was nothing out there that we could relate to. So it was fuck it, we'll do it ourselves.
And that's why I do think it's good when the more people that do it, because you can relate to different people in different ways. For example, the person who made me start was Molly Q and Chronic. And that's because we were doing work for Diabetes UK at the time, and then she posted videos of us together. They did pretty well, and obviously me being cocky, I thought that was because of me. So then I was like, I'll start it. But I mean, she was the first person I ever related to with diabetes, because I would go to I remember even being a 10, 11-year-old, just been diagnosed, and my mum was the best mum, but she's not going to wipe my ass. And we'd be at these meetings with the other kids, and they'd be like, a mum setting a time and be like, you need to have your 11 p.m. biscuit and all this stuff. And I'd be like, my mum doesn't even know what insulin is. I was very clear from the age of 10, if I'm going to go and travel the world and stuff like that, I can't have you knowing everything, because how am I going to do sleepovers with a lad in 2 years and stuff? I need to know everything. So I really
Yeah.
struggled to relate to anyone until I met her. So I mean, it's good to have a lot of different perspectives online.
That's true. No one's the same either. No one is the same. Similarities, but it's not the same.
Yeah.
So what was your diagnosis like then, Ryan? You said it was, how old was you?
So I would have been just turned 10. So year 6 at school. Yeah, rough, mate, rough. I was lucky on one hand, unlucky on the other. So unlucky is like, people, obviously doctors still aren't educated on it, but they know the signs and symptoms now. They definitely did back there. So I was ill for about 6 months. I was getting like painfully thin. Like I think I was about 3, I was under 4 staying in year 6. So like 10 years old was pretty rough. But like, I was eating like rubbish, and like my eyes were always swelled up and like bloodshot, just like sugar literally like in your eyelids. Wet in the bed every single night. And then the only thing that like doctors kept saying, water infection, this kidney, like, but like nothing was actually bad on blood tests. Like they do proper blood panels. They wouldn't do an A1C, but they did a proper blood panel. Like kidneys good, liver's good. Doesn't make any sense. And then luckily, like my stepbrother, who had like moved out years ago, got like moved out of the house years ago. He was type 1 diabetic. He come round within literally 2 minutes. He was like, I think he pulled out his finger prick and was like, just do this, and I got diagnosed that day.
Oh wow!
But it's so long ago, so I don't remember life without it. Like I honestly have no memories of I have brief memories of being like a kid at Disneyland, but like I don't remember what life was before injecting stuff. I think it might be rougher to have, say I got it today and I've lived like a really cool 19 to 28, like, and then you all of a sudden have to change. I think that might be harder. For me, It was just all the most important years of my life: teenage years, early adult years. Now, sort of an adult. I wouldn't call myself an adult, but yeah, all these important years I've had it for. And luckily, I've finally sort of got a grasp for what I should do, because for many years, I just I winged it.
Yeah.
I think we all did.
I was going to say, I bet you could relate to that a lot, Mike, couldn't you?
Yeah, I was diagnosed at 10 as well, wasn't I? So,
I mean, how long ago that had been for you? Was that the roughly the same, about 18, 20 years ago?
I'm a bit older. It's 97.
97. Okay, yeah. So that, I still think and back then, what was like your treatments starting? Was it, so I remember being on 2 injections a day, and so I have no idea what my blood tests, my blood sugars were. I've always wanted to like go around my parents and pull out the old forms. So I know my mum keeps everything, so she'll have the first year, like my diabetes record somewhere. But like doing 2 injections a day, like you couldn't even imagine doing that now and being like, oh, well, I'll just eat the exact same thing every day, 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. I'll inject. And even if you did do that and eat the same thing, your blood sugars would be different every single day. So I don't know how they even expected it to work back then. And it's sort of why, I don't know if you guys feel like this. We went to a conference, me and Ruby was on the other week with us. We went to Symbionics' thing in Italy. And there was
I saw that.
There was a few people who were invited because they were parents of young people, and they'd sort of put them on social media. And a lot of people sitting there at drinks at night and stuff like that, and they'd be like, "It's just so harsh. Like it's so they get, and it is harsh from getting the condition young." But they'd be saying stuff like, "Oh, it's like their Dexcom G6 isn't even that good," and I'm like, "Oh my god, you are so lucky." Like, with the tech we've got now and stuff like that, I'm used to getting like 3 sentences from Symbionics and work with them and stuff like that, and you were saying it's that hard on them now. Like honestly, like, it was rough back in the day, and I think if we got put back for one day, no, maybe not one day, for 1 month, and just had to finger prick, had to use the slower insulins, I don't know how I'd do it now.
The scary thing is, I think I'd stop doing it. I wouldn't finger prick because I never did as a kid.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, but you know what? You survive. Like the thing is, so I had a few years where I didn't really care about my diabetes at all, and I went abroad and I lived in like Vegas, Miami, Ibiza, obviously doing things that isn't good for your diabetes when you're out there. And I honestly, and people would never believe when I say it, I was lucky if I blood tested once a day, but they were like, surely you had like shocking hypos and stuff, and I was like, no. It was like, because you were so limited on what tech you had, you dealt with it better. It's like my hyper awareness was so on point. Like, we're in 30-degree heat and I wouldn't even start sweating or just know, I'm low. Like, whoever goes gets a round next, get me a cocktail. Like I wasn't even rushing to get it. Whereas like, I feel like all these advancements in technology has made us like more useless as diabetics. Like I couldn't survive now.
It's true. I can see that. I feel like I've been spoiled. Like every person we have on the podcast and everyone I talk to has been like, yeah, I was diagnosed when I was 10. I had it since I was a child. And I'm sitting there like, yeah, I got it when I was 30. It's like 2 years ago. And I've had the sensor from like pretty much straight away. And like, so as I always say, like, I don't know how you lot done it when you was kids, because it was the most stressful month of my life, just finger pricking before I got the sensor.
Yeah. I mean, the sense, obviously the tech's great and the tech does make it a lot easier, but you still get a whole new condition as an adult that you never had years ago, and you've got to pick it all up while actually having a busy life. Like everything that I ever talk about on social media, it wasn't stuff that I read the day, and this is what annoys me when you get some comments like, who made you an expert on this? And it's like, bro, I've read more studies than your doctor, because for like 20 years I've had this and I've always been a bit of a science loser. And I would studies, and it was mainly for fitness originally. It was mainly like, oh, I've got this condition, it's going to make it harder for me to get in shape. So I'd research all the science behind being in shape. Then it was, I'm going to go and live abroad, do a lot of drugs and do stupid things, not eat. And so how do I stay looking good as a club promoter, and how do I also manage my diabetes during that? So I look at the science of that. And then it become more, okay, I've looked at all this stuff before. How do I just apply that to purely diabetes? So I'd read hundreds of studies. I still get a daily thing from PubMed sent to me with any latest diabetes studies. And like, it's just building knowledge for like 20 years. So it's like, at least you haven't got the 20 years of like messing around behind you. Because as much as I like to be on social media and be like positive for other people and be like, oh, like you're not going to get any side effects diabetes, I know at some point I've got to pay for 15 years of messing around. And I'm not that bothered about it really. Because I had this like, I had a good time when I was doing it. It was one of them. I could have lived a really boring like teenage years and early 20s.
Exactly. Yeah, you've lived.
Yeah, and I chose not to. But like now it's like, wow, essentially my life's fairly boring now. So I may as well focus. And like the stuff that I'm into is back into like gym, back into fitness, stuff like that. So I may as well put all my effort into maximising my diabetes, because they sort of go hand in hand.
Yeah, 100%. You train a lot, didn't you?
Yeah. So I was a personal trainer from 18 right until I went and lived abroad. So yeah, I was really into it then. And then I remember one year being like, Joe, I'm going to be like the best PT in Cov. Like, I'm from Coventry. I had this like thing, like, I'm going to do more numbers than anyone. And like, I worked flat out.
It's not a bad motive to have, mate, to be honest.
You know, it was good, but like, I mean, I worked flat out for 6 months. And I burnt myself out to the point where I literally was like, I can never train. And I remember going back into work one day, looked at like this client who was boring, couldn't have a convo, knew I had 2 hours with him. And he's a really good client, paid me a lot, paid me Austin. But the problem was I had no motivation to there for 2 hours. And that was literally when I was like, I'm going abroad. I need to do something different. Obviously, I was training stuff when I was abroad, but exactly, you're just doing what you can to sort of keep your shape when you get out there. And then when I come back, it was like, I'm looking to compete next year. So I'm trying to take it as serious as possible at the minute. Yeah, that was always a thing that I wanted to do when I was younger. Crazy story. I was dieting for a show 2019. I hadn't like picked the show or anything like that, but I had a coach and everything. We're going through it. I was in such better shape than I am now, which is depressing. And then we ended up on a night out, and I ran into an ex. And anyway, she stayed at mine, let's just say that. And the next morning, I had a flight to Ibiza, just on a holiday, and it was going to be, I'll come back, and I do, like, I think about 10 weeks left for my prep. And the next morning, I wake up, and I'm on the floor with a dislocated shoulder. And from no fault of hers, by the way, I'm not trying to pin it on her, but it's just a little bit suspicious, ain't it? But anyway, apparently she woke up that morning and left for work, and about 2 hours later, my mum heard a bang, and I had a dislocated shoulder. So yeah, so that obviously ruined that. So I never got to do it when I was all in on gym. So this is probably the closest I've been. I'm not like I used to be. I'm not like where it's like my life. I still like to still just enjoy food a bit more now, and it's not like it's not everything.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things that if I got to like 35, I'd be like mad that I didn't do it. So also, I'm not gonna lie, content. So that's the thing. It's always good content when you do something a bit different with diabetes. So
100%. So what sort of foods do you stick to? Like quite a strict routine with your foods and that now?
So I don't do it for fitness. So like I did this mainly. So I used to be like, I was big into like calorie counting and stuff when I was younger. So I would just track everything I eat and do it at the end of the day. That to me is totally fine if you're just trying to get in shape. If you're trying to have perfect diabetes, because I did a video yesterday about this. There was a guy really slating like meal plans or having a set carb amount for a meal time, which I think is great for people who are struggling with diabetes.
I think I saw that. I'm sure I saw that.
And I think it's great also if you're trying to be like very good. I think it's great for people struggling. I think it's great for people trying to be like optimal. And I'll say this, it's because there's certain foods that you can carb count perfectly, and guess what? It doesn't add up. I have like this thing where I could eat like potatoes, rice, anything in the middle of the day after midday, and I would be 15, or if I've trained 20 for one, carbohydrate to insulin ratio. I have these protein oats. I have these protein oats at work, and I don't know what it is about them. My carb ratio is awful with them. Like there's like 40 grams of carbs, and I inject 5 units from them. But I only know that because I have it as a set meal where I have it every day at that time. And I do it purely because it takes no meal prep time. I literally throw it in the microwave, it's done in 2 minutes. And him just making out, you can just go around, you can just track everything and then dose according to your carb ratio. Like you can do that with a lot of things. There's a lot of foods that just won't fit your carb ratios. And that's just one for me. So yeah, I'm fairly, I try and keep it pretty routine in terms of like what I eat in the day. I'll go through periods of like gaining weight, losing weight, depending on what I'm doing. And I pretty much, whatever diet I'm sort of on, I'll have like 1 or 2 set meals. They're going to be my breakfasts, they're going to be my lunch, and then dinner, because I usually have it with my partner. She's not about like eating the same thing every night. Like if I was living by myself,
neither is my wife. She hates it.
If I was living by myself, it'd probably be like pad thai that I've made. I'd have that most nights. But yeah, my dinner's totally flexible. But I just think, like, honestly, if I wake up in range, I'm going to be in range till 6 p.m, which like is, you can't really buy that, because then you are thinking, if you go through your nighttime in range, like you're going to bed and you're in range till 6 p.m, like that's like, I've already hit 80% of the day. So that's at a minimum, I'm doing 80% time in range. So, I mean, it's not for everyone, definitely not to be that stringent. I don't think you have to be, but I do think like it helps me have good diabetes while trying to do fitness stuff.
Yeah, to be fair, I'm quite strict on, well, not strict, but Michael said I'm strict, but I'm just, I'll just like sticking. Like I'm the same as you. I wake up every morning at the same time. I eat my breakfast. I have pre-bolus for the same amount for my breakfast every morning. It's the same. I've had the same breakfast for nearly 2 years.
Yeah, and you know, I don't know if it's like I have like ADHD, and like I don't know if that's a thing with them. Like, I like simplicity in my life. And you know, it's so weird now, because a guy that I've always liked, who's probably the first person who sort of did like the fitness side of type 1 diabetes, is Owen. He has a podcast, in Slow Podcast. I did it with him, and he was always talking about like how he lives his life on his podcast and stuff. And I was like, bro, that's so routine to my life. And I thought, but this is when I was like living abroad, and I was like, that could never be me. And it could never be me if I was still living that life. It could never be. But then when I was in the UK, it's like, well, mate, the more routine that I made my life, the better. And not just diabetes wise, in terms of like, I just enjoy it more. I enjoy knowing what I'm doing the day before I wake up. Whereas I don't like last minute plans. I'm not one of them people.
No, I hate them.
While we're on the subject of food, I asked this to all our guests. If you throw diabetes out of the way for a second, completely forget like if diabetes or not.
Yeah.
What is your go-to 3-course meal? Like, what would it be? Anything?
Oh, 3-course. See, I find 3-course meals a bit I'm always like a main dessert sort of guy. But then, okay, so it's this thing.
You can have whatever you can have 2 mains if you want.
So that's sort of
2 desserts.
So that's what I mean. We're trying to do. So I think I've probably made a gain weight. But when we go out for food, I like to do tapas with 3 mains. So I just get 3 mains, and then we have half each. So it feels like tapas. Obviously, the bills are way more expensive, so it ain't always the best idea. But you get to like, you're never disappointed, because like, I'm not one of them people that's like, if I pick a food and you pick a food and yours is better than mine, then I'm just going to be in a mood for this whole dinner situation, mate. So I think it's best if I have 3 options to pick from, whichever's best. I'm probably going to have more than half. Okay, so this is going to sound like stupidly healthy, but it ain't, honestly. Okay, so the only start I'd ever order at a restaurant is with my fish, seafood restaurant, and I'd have tuna tartare. Love that. Mains, it's really hard. Probably be some sort of pasta. It'd be some sort of pasta and garlic bread. Probably, I do like carbonara, but then I'm thinking it like,
yes.
But if you know, if I ain't got bowls for it, I'll just go all out and just do the lasagna. It'd be something like carbonara and lasagna, and then dessert. See, a lot ice cream in the heat, in the cold, like chocolate fudge cake warmed up.
Oh,
So I'm giving you it done seasonally. So if it's summer, it's ice cream. If it's winter, it's fudge cake.
I like it.
That would need a hefty split dose. That would need.
Yeah. I still haven't mastered that. I'm not. Apparently, Ruby told us last week you're the master at split bolusing.
A split is hard. Yeah, I think she's more scared to do too long with pre-bolus. With me, I know that like even like fiasp, it doesn't seem to. Other people are like, I inject fiasp, and my levels drop straight away, and I'm like, does it? Like, is it just slow getting into me?
So is that what you use? Are you on fiasp?
Yeah, I'm fiasp and Traceba. Honestly, fiasp. There's so many things that I can point to that were like absolute game changers, but I never think of them as game changers. But like, when I look back, I'm like, if I had to hand back fiasp now, even to go on a pump, like if they gave me closed loop and tried to give me Nova Rapid, no, not a chance.
oh wow.
Yeah, so honestly, and it was only because, like I said, having to get in the CGMs is when I first saw like, oh wow, like the pre-bolus times on Nova Rapid. I think I did a series on it where like pre-bolus an hour, and I was only like 8 nub.
Yeah, I've sat there before for an hour.
Yeah, and you just think, mate, it's not like, obviously if you're like 4, yeah, you're gonna go under, but I was only 8 nub on. It's not like I was out of range, but I pre-bolus an hour before, and it still was like, there was times I went out of range an hour before I didn't. I think that's ridiculous. So yeah, Fias would have been a game changer for me. Smart pens, I honestly don't know what I'd do if I had to hand them back. I love just knowing. And that's mainly for obviously pre-bolus times, but also, you know, say you're out of range and you debate injecting again, and you just click on it and you're like, oh, it's still working. Like, you still got that bit of insulin working for it.
So what's the smart pen then? I've never seen one.
You just click it at the back of it, and it tells you how much you injected and how long ago you injected.
Oh wow.
And it's perfect for never overdoing your corrections. So, or even if you inject for dinner and you're like, oh, I'm slightly out of range now, and you go to it again and you're like, oh wait, it's only been in me an hour and a half, I still got probably another 20 minutes of doing something. So it's good for that. I like so smart pens, obviously CGMs are a game changer. But yeah, I think they were sort of pre-bolus as well. They're sort of the 4 big ones that I'm like, God, if all of them were invented like years ago, like maybe I could have like had good blood sugars in my teens.
It's true though.
You always keep asking about Fiasp as well, didn't you, mate? You very curious.
Yeah, I want to
about
switch.
That.
I do want to switch to it because Nova Rapid is, well, it's not crap, but it is.
Yeah, I think most people, some lad, I was going to make a video just tearing them apart, but I'm trying to be a nice person on TikTok now. I used to be, honestly, probably before you guys started following me on that, I used to be a bit horrible, man. I used to, like, if someone would say something, like, and I felt like my opinion was different, I would, like, absolutely going on them. And I remember one day sitting there, like, and it was only when, like, my perspectives changed on a few things about diabetes, and I'm like, oh wow, like one of these things that my perspective has changed on could have been something that I absolutely laid into someone for. And now I'm there giving a different perspective. So I think I've learned that you always sort of like things change, you always learn more.
Yeah.
And one of this lad was like basically saying stuff that I said to you guys, like, it's impossible to have a good HbA1c, all this stuff like that. And I was like, oh no, honestly, mate, if you're on top, you got CGM, you're on top of your pre-bolus and stuff, like you generally can replicate almost a normal person's blood sugar. Certainly, because most people in the world are technically overweight, which means they'd be slightly insulin resistant. So you could definitely have better blood sugars than them. And he was like, doctor, you sound like a doctor. They all expect you to never go out of range. And I was like, I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that if you had a fast enough insulin, that it's way easier now than ever before with CGMs. And he was like, mate, it doesn't matter what insulin you have, Nova Rapid is just as good. And I really want to make a video because I feel like anyone who's used Nova Rapid and then used Fiasp would massively disagree. But I just, yeah.
Is it really that different?
Yeah, 100%. Type in Fiasp reviews because I know Diabetic Medic, she's really cool. I like her. She doesn't make much content, but I feel like if she did, she'd probably be one of the better females on the platform. Yeah, Diabetic Medic did a video on it. I'm pretty sure there's a new girl, Type 1 Ellie, am I getting that wrong? Ella. Hopefully she don't mind.
Type 1 Ella, yeah, I've seen her on TikTok.
Yeah, and I think they've done videos. I did one age ago when I first got it, and I was like, honestly, so, but again, I think it was before a lot of people got Fiasp, there wasn't many, a lot of them were like, wow, if it was any faster, it could be dangerous. And so I think now everyone's sort of realising like, the faster insulin you have, the better, because the day that we can actually inject when we're eating and you don't go out of range, that would be crazy. That would be crazy.
Yeah, that's the norm for me, so I like it.
Do you go out of range when you eat that? Or do you eat like not many carbs, or what do you eat?
I eat what I like. So I do about 5 minutes pre-bolus. That's probably the max I do.
And that's with Nova Rapid?
That's with Nova Rapid, yeah.
I feel like that was the thing that, like I said, when I went years of having good blood sugars, but my HbA1cs were like bad, and I was like, what was it? It was only when I was like, but I do think insulin time varies person to person. I don't think it's the actual time in sex. I've never thought Fiasp is way faster, but like I said, there's still times that I do 30-minute pre-bolus with Fiasp, but I've never heard of anyone doing that. But I do think it's how your body absorbs it.
Yeah, see, I'm on Nova Rapid, and mine, I have to pre-bolus about 35 minutes in the morning for my breakfast, and sometimes I still spike, but I've got no choice but to eat at that time, otherwise I'll be late for fucking work.
That's where like you can optimize diabetes or actually have a life.
Yeah. And then lunchtime, it's literally 10-15 minutes maximum, depending on how low or high my sugars are at the time.
Yeah, so I definitely change. Obviously, I do it based on a few things. I do it based on, obviously, the closer I am to 4, the less time. But also, obviously, what you eat, what you're eating. So if there's more fat in the meal, it's going to be slower digested. More fiber in the meal, slower digested.
Do you know what? I wish I knew that when I first got diagnosed, because doctors don't tell you that stuff. I literally got a pen given to me. There's your Lantus, there's your Nova Rapid. Right, you do 12 units on that one, and that's a 10-1. Go for it. That was pretty much all I got.
Yeah, honestly, it's always been minimal from them, and it's like, it's annoying because it's like I always want to do something in that framework, but it's crazy how not having a qualification that stops you. Like I've never met a diabetic doctors. Literally, when I speak to them, it's in the conversations are always them asking me why I do certain things and then writing it down. So they're like learning from me a lot of the time. But like if I ever did like, but that's what they never asked me anything. Like they never like, oh, you should do this. Like, why do you do that? And they're like, and they're writing it on a different notepad, not on my sheets. I'm like, you're going to go and research something that you should already know if you just like it's jump. But they haven't got it, so I don't blame them for not knowing. But I always wanted to find a way that you could help diabetics. And the thing I'm starting very soon, I'm working with an online platform to like fitness coach diabetes. But I actually wanted that to be like help purely with diabetes and not fitness, but I've took it down the fitness route because you can't, like, it's like people only value like a doctor's opinion, which is so crazy to me. People listen to me on TikTok and I get a million comments always and DMs like asking me how I do stuff, or I learn more stuff from a doctor, but it would be very hard for me to sort of build that the same way I could in fitness, because it's like essentially a lot. Obviously, I'm going to give them advice on diabetes, but I'm not telling them exactly what to do with diabetes.
Yeah, something like that would be really good because I'm quite into my fitness. I like training. I do boxing now and then. I've actually reached out to online coaches before that I've been following.
Yeah.
And said, look, I'm a type 1 diabetic. Like,
I've
never had a coach before. Rah, rah, rah. It don't even reply to me at all.
They won't tell you.
Like, they don't even entertain
and
it.
it's a lot more work. Like, I always think, I mean, the end goal of it, if I compete, I want to do it. So I'm actually, I guess this is going to air in about a week's time or whatever. So it's going to be announced in the next week. I'm literally finalising. I've got 2 people trialing the app.
Oh, wow. It's that close.
Yeah, I've got 2 people trialing the app for me now, 2 people I've worked with for a while. And I'm literally getting them. I want to make sure everything's perfect. I can be a perfectionist. I don't want to load it. And then I've got people signing up and everything like that. And there's like something going that I don't know how it works. So I'm doing that. I'm in the last stage of that. Yeah. But a big thing with it is, like other coaches, I always think it's way harder to do a type 1 diabetic. Like, if the end goal actually would be, if I competed next year, to coach both normal people and type 1 diabetics, but I want to do it for like a year first on type 1 diabetics, because I'm like, well, I can put everything into helping them. Whereas when you coach a normal person, essentially, it's almost like, do you guys really need that much help? Like, it is just calories, macros, do your steps, train, see some sort of progression. With diabetes, there's so many more things in it. So before I even mix the two, I wanted to do have it running for about a year before I competed, just doing diabetics, so I can sort of see. But I can see why they don't, because if you're a normal coach and you're so used to just giving out them sort of easy coaching clients, and you're essentially just doing small adjustments with them, they don't they wouldn't know why did this blood sugar go up to 13 after he ate that? Like, they wouldn't have a clue. So I can see why they turn down diabetics. But it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. But for them, they get the same money for doing quarter of the work.
But that's the thing. You've got the education, but you've also got the experience, and that's what appeals to people is the experience.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm excited to do it. Definitely, it'll be cool. It'd be weird, because like, when I was actually a personal trainer, I'm not sure if it was just because I was young and sort of still went out and that, so I sort of had like a bit of a name in Coventry. So I only really trained for emails, but I was like 90% of about 90% of my client list. So I had fun late teens, I'll say. But like, I feel like the stuff that I would help, I honestly think the online stuff will mainly benefit lads, because it's mainly lads asking me questions and stuff. Girls do ask the odd thing, and I do make videos about it. But yeah, so I'm excited to start it. But yeah, it's been a lot of work recently getting it all set up, but it'll be interesting.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah, good luck with everything. I'll probably be one of your customers in there. So.
Happy days. Get you a discount code. So what are you guys? Because I always think, is it like you're quite newly diagnosed? Is it easier for you to get the way I've always said to people is like, if you're young or you're newly diagnosed, like you can get tech quite easy. Have you been offered like pumps or what?
I was offered a pump once when I first got my sensor, because I kept knocking it off at work.
Okay, yeah.
So they said, well, the only other option is to get a pump or something, and then obviously my was if I keep knocking a sensor off, what the fuck am I going to do to a pump?
Yeah.
That's attached to me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so it's just like, no, I'll just persevere with the sensor. But I got offered the sensor straight away because my nurse said I'm a fencer, like outside digging holes in the
active jobs need it.
Yeah, and also the dirt, that was their first thing straight away, was I can't be finger pricking and then having dirty hands all the time and not being able to go and wash them constantly because I'm on a building site.
Yeah.
With essential open wounds on the end of my fingertips. So that was straight away, they was like, right, we'll give you a sensor.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, I've always wondered how easy it is. I know, obviously, a lot of people are getting tech at the minute. But even now, it's I wouldn't know how to go about. Obviously, Symbionics just stopped shipping to the UK. They've stopped working in the UK, which is kind of annoying, to be fair. Like, I would have expected, because I felt like when I looked at the people who got on the most business, or the people who got on the most referrals, I was at the highest. I was expecting like a message, and I didn't get a message. The only way.
I saw the content you did on that. They looked fucking very accurate.
Oh, honestly, it was a dream. I don't like talking about it because it makes me sad. Like, so I'm never going to probably have one again. I'm pretty sure I think there's a reason they're not doing it. I'm not sure if it's whether basically UK people are less willing to pay for sensors because you can get them for free, and it's not even like you can just get the Libra 2 for free. People can get the G6 and G7 free if they know the right people, if they're good with the hospital and stuff. So I think that might be what it is. It's like, how do we take over that market when we essentially don't want to be on the NHS? We want to sell it to people. But yeah, so when they stopped doing it, I went back to Libra 2. But to be fair, it's been a better experience now. It's definitely not like, I did a big series. I worked with Abbott for a little bit. They sponsored the TikToks, and it was before Symbionics, but being the good ambassador, as soon as I realised that it was inaccurate for me. So for some reason, they used to be horrifically inaccurate for me. I only worked out one day when I was driving, and I'm shaking, sweating, and my sensor saying 6.4. I'm like, okay, so I literally make it all the way home, and I was like 1.9, and I was like, oh my God, like on the finger pricks.
Jesus.
So then for a few weeks, I did a big series. I didn't tell Abbott about it, which is honestly the stupidest thing I ever did. Didn't tell him about it. And I'm doing these series with clickbait, like Libra sensors will kill you and all this stuff like that, and I'm showing how inaccurate they are on me, and just assuming they are is just as inaccurate on everyone else. I don't think they were. I think for some sort of reason, they just didn't work well on me, which doesn't really make a sense. When Abbott obviously pulled the sponsorship after that, once they saw the series, 'cause the series took off quite a while, they turned around to us and they were just like, you maybe need to try a new size, you could have spoke to us first and that. So I definitely messed up. But that's why as soon as I found out Symbionics weren't going to be in the UK much longer, the first thing I did was whack the sensor on my bum, because I've always been like, try new things and see if it's a better area. And ever since, it's been really accurate. So I'm not sure if the Libra 2 got better over time, but I've been comparing it to my blood test skin, so it's all good at the minute.
To be fair, I think you're right. I think they have improved it.
Yeah. I mean, I think surely it was so inaccurate on my arms. And the thing that everyone used to say to me was, it's because you got like a bit of muscle. And I was like, that can't be right. Like they can't be good on someone who doesn't have that. I was like, it's not like I'm Ronnie Coleman. Like, I'm not that big, mate. I wish I was that big. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. He literally put me off of wearing them. Like, before Symbionics reached out to me, I went back to finger pricking for like 2 weeks. So I was like, they're that inaccurate on this series that I've shown, and now they're not paying me to wear them, so I'm not going to wear them. And so yeah, I went back to finger pricking for 2 months, and luckily Symbionics messaged me. I did a good year working with them, which was cool. But yeah, I think they must have got better, because I'm going to do one on my arm again and test it. And I'm thinking I'm going to get my girlfriend's phone and have one on my arm and my bum at the same time and see if I get 2 different readings. But if it's all good,
that would be a good research.
Yeah, I mean, I've always been. I think there's a lot of people. I mean, I love the diabetic community on TikTok. It's been like, and like for me, there's not many other things that I've stuck at for like 2 years in my life ever. Like, I'm if I get bored of something, I need to change. And like, obviously, there's times that you get bored of doing videos and stuff. But I've always been investing in the diabetic community on TikTok. But the thing that I always struggle with is when people like say, "Oh, my doctor says you shouldn't do that. My nurse says it," and it's like, bro, they haven't got the medical condition, mate. Like, they haven't got. Really, they've got essentially.
You know, I had an argument with one of my nurses a couple of months ago for that same reason. They was trying to tell me to drop my background insulin, and I was just arguing it like, I don't need to. Just like, you don't know.
Yeah.
She was like, I think what was it, Mike? She was like, what did she say?
I'm not saying nothing, because I told you to drop it as well.
Yeah, I know, but I'll never drop it. It annoyed me.
You did drop it.
We're on the topic now, so I thought I'd bring it back up.
But no, I mean, it's in like,
she was just like, I've studied diabetes for 20 years, and I was just like, well, you haven't lived it for a day. Like, you haven't lived with it for a day.
Yeah,
so
I don't have any. I'm not gonna lie, I have so little respect for them, because it was like, I've never had an education. Like, I've never learned a single thing from them. But I just think it's like, people who live their life like, I still get it to this day. It was one of the first videos I ever made on TikTok. 2 years later, I still get a constant comment about injecting your arms. And I'm like, I mean, try it, mate. That's why I did a video taking the mick. I injected my calf, because I was like, do you know what?
I saw that.
Yeah, I was just thinking. I was like, maybe the insulin still work. Like, it's still fat. It's still skin. Like, I don't. And I'm not saying inject your calf or anything, but like, I'm saying like, what? Like, why would it be any different? Why people wear their CGMs on their stomach and legs? It's just a bit of fat. Like, it's your bum.
I suppose, yeah, it's still reading the same part of your body, isn't it? It's just a fatty bit of tissue.
And then my argument was, it should be better because the more fat, the better. Like people always there saying, "Oh, you don't want it reading." The big thing about my arms, when people's arguments when I said how inaccurate it was on my arms, it was, "Oh, you're muscling your arms." So I'm like, okay, perfect. Well, we'll go for the fattiest area then, because I've got a fat bum, man. so that's where man's got cheeks. So that's where it's going.
Ain't it like uncomfortable when you sit down? Like I don't know, like I'm picturing it now.
Doing top corner, so essentially, even if you sit in that chair, it's not even ever. It's always like the outer angle of it.
Okay.
Yeah, and you know, it's just something I tried purely for me. I'm creative in some aspects, but like the way I come up with videos is essentially like, is this going to annoy people? Is this controversial, or is it, or have I never seen another diabetic do it? Because like that's the best way to make content, though. And I purely do it because I feel like I see the same stuff, and it's because it's literally a diabetes page, so I only follow diabetic creators as well. I don't follow any of my friends or anything like that. And if I ever make a personal, I'll obviously follow them. But yeah, so I feel like when I'm scrolling, I see the same stuff. So I'm always like, and like the day that I post something that I see another diabetic post, I'll be like, good, because I don't go and watch loads of other people's videos. I'll just quickly scroll when I'm bored. But I always think that if I think something that I try and think stuff that I know no one else has even tried this. So that's a good video in my eyes.
So what is your favourite position to wear a sensor then? Or your CGM?
I'm going with, so the arm's always good. I mean, the arm's good. I'm going with bum because I'll say why. Like, I'm all for embracing diabetes. I think the first time I said about it on the bum, I said like, I made a joke, like, obviously on tan lines on holiday, but I said like, do you know what? I don't want everyone knowing knowing I'm diabetic on holiday. I don't want it ruining my photos and stuff. People like, you shouldn't be proud of it. I'm like, bro, I've posted 600 videos on TikTok talking about diabetes. I think I'm pretty open about having it. It's not like I'm hiding it. There's certain things, and it's one of the reasons I'll never do closed loop until I'm old and I don't care about anything. Like, because like with it, I don't want a load of machines on me. I don't like how it looks. And
yeah, see, all that shit scares me because I think it's just another thing to go wrong. Like, I feel with injections, you're in control. You know exactly what's going on. You're
100% in control. And that's another thing I always get like people bring up. Because I slay pumps based on, and if you're on a pump and it's working well for you, fair play, like obviously stick it, like who cares what I say? But I mean, like, the big thing is I'm always like, I judge pumps based on when I got one. I got one at 11 years old and I had it till 20. So you're looking at, I got rid of it 8 years ago and I had it 19 years old. These pumps are not as good as the new ones, obviously. But I say all the problems about it getting ripped off and leaking, where you shoot it and blood fills it. Like, all these things do generally happen. And I see them still happen on today's pumps, apart from the ripped off with the wireless one. So they all still happen today, but whenever I talk about that, it's like, you know, you bash pumps, you never had them. And so I have had them. I just had a really rubbish one. And you just go like, I mean, diabetics might be the most over the top people about like protecting what they do. It reminds me of, you know, like vegans and vegetarians stuff, like how they are so defensive about their diet. I honestly,
like activists.
It's like just stop oil, mate, for pumps. Like they're going around spraying me with that insulin. I don't want your insulin. But yeah, no, diabetics are so over top of that, overprotective about what they do is right, and that's like, and it costs you views massively. But the biggest thing I ever do, I never say like, you should do this for diabetes, because I've learned like every time I used to do like hooks out on videos and stuff just to get more views, this is what you should do. 6 months later, my opinion's changed a little bit. So. And I think and it's like, maybe I'll get an insulin pump one day, and all the videos I've made bashing insulin pumps are absolutely pointless, but it's just, I mean, that's part of being diabetic, mate. We're defensive over what we currently do. So yeah, I try really hard not to like, this is the only way to do it, because with diabetes, there's a million ways to do everything.
No, I like that. I know I really relate to what you say about the pump though, because I see it as a constant reminder. I don't need that in my life.
It's not the worst. Like I say, if it makes your management easier, I just don't see how it benefits me. Like, if I was struggling, like, one thing with me, I've never minded injecting. Sort of enjoy it, if anything. Like, I don't enjoy the fire of my legs. look like they've got 20 years of scar tissue. So like, you get scar tissue or that. But I mean, I've never minded. That's never bothered me. Even at the age of 10, like my mum said, like, you never missed an injection, which like it was never hard to convince me to do it. But so if I'm on top of that, I'm on top of pre-bolusing, I'm on top of, I know how long the insulin sort of lasts. The smart pens help me know that, like, oh, don't correct again before this time. If anything, going on the pump only worsens my control because I've got to now adapt. I've got to now adapt over. My Traceba dose doesn't automatically go into this pump and they don't work out and it's all of a sudden correct. So I've got to convert my Traceba dose into a basal rate that they do and then edit and adjust that. I've then got to probably use a slower insulin, so I've got to change my pre-bolus times. My thing has always been like, I don't see any benefit in me wearing a pump. Plus, I like when I can hide my diabetes. I like that if I go out, 90% of the time I can make it so no one knows I'm diabetic. Obviously, if I want them to know, it's fine. Like, it's not like I hide it. I tell people I've got it, and then sometimes I think in my head, why have I just mentioned I'm diabetic to this person? Like, he does not care. Like, he definitely don't care. So it's not like I hide it, but having the ability to hide it's always a plus. Like,
right, guys, I hope you enjoyed listening to part 1 of the episode with Ryan Taylor. There's more to come in the next episode, and here's a little snippet of what's to come.
Me and Amelia sat there talking about type 1 diabetes, and then that night we were the two messiest people at that party that night. Like, we knew we were getting up at 1, but in the next couple of hours I could have been dead. Like, DK is a lack of insulin being in your body. It's never been high blood sugar. Because I talk so much about it, I focus on my own diabetes so much more.
Once again, thank you for listening, and we look forward to having you on the next one. Please don't forget to rate, follow, subscribe, review, all that malarkey. And yeah, catch you on the next one. Bye.